It's Season 2, Episode 5. We're in Old City for the first minigame of the Running Man survival, between an unforeseen head-to-head battle between the Bug Tribe's Liu, and the Impa Tribe's Pala. Liu has less than 1 minute to try to overcome an 8-point deficit and complete an unbelievable comeback by trying to catch a golden petty Akong against a more energetic Pala. Both of these competitors feel like they are on the precipice of greatness, but these two competitors haven't played against each other ever since. How come? Before someone catches the golden petty Akong to claim one tremendous victory, we need to understand how this matchup and this moment came to be. Let's rewind. Liu and Pala are two of the 6 Running Man contestants, who compete in the Running Man survival. And this is just the very first mini-game of the competition. But as you can tell from the location of the game, they are playing in Old City. How? In the first season finale, the Running Man team had a tough battle against the resurrected Earth God, Ulcus back in Tree City, which is full of sacrifices. These include some miserable sacrificial deaths of Guy and Lonky, Liu raising up the white flag, and Popo turning back time, which made him a lot younger. But the biggest sacrifice of all was the time when the entire team risked their lives to save the world, as Ulcus sacrificed himself too by giving the Running Man team a second chance and petrifying himself. It was such a relief that Running Man team claimed another grueling victory, but it did not take long for Guy to betray his friends all of a sudden, and leave Tree City with his brothers carrying a big bag of cheese rings. So, that leads us to only 6 remaining competitors, who take part in the Running Man survival. They were ended up in Old City when a large group of blue Pululus kidnapped the team and brought them there. Just as the Running Men realized that they were in a strange town populated by Pululus, they were all startled. Then, a bunch of creeps called the Castanets suddenly showed up, and challenged the Running Men. But just under a minute into the game, Guga comfortably defeated all of the Castanets with just one strong punch, that stunned every single Pululu in the building. The Running Men then faced another group of creeps called the Ocarina, who has the majestic ability to hold their swords with their legs. And yet again, the Running Men's progress in this fight was so far, so good, as they defeated them smoothly too. But the Castanets and the Ocarina were not done yet. They joined forces together trying to recover from those defeats and make a payback. It worked. Their combination helped them improve their game, and they retaliated and defeated everyone in the Running Man team rather so easily. Well, technically not everyone. And shortly thereafter, the game directors called the Running Man team sinners, while they were expecting a silence from them. Then, this guy appeared. That's Akong, a mighty chief, and a high priest of the Pululu tribe. He's here because he came to punish the Running Men for their wrongful act, which is, their halt of the resurrection of the Earth God Ulcus. Wait, halt of the resurrection of the Earth God Ulcus? But the Running Men actually saved the world. Why would you punish someone for saving the world? Well, in the great legend that Akong narrated, the Pululu tribe was guaranteed to be the rulers of the world after Ulcus grew into a soul tree. The other tribes? They disputed the Pululus, and it eventually became a war for the abundant source of the Materian. Plus, Akong called the Running Men's conspiracy of defeating Ulcus ugly, before he punished them with at least 300 years in prison, except Pala, who had only 10 years. But despite the wrongdoing, the legend, the punishments he gave out, Akong offered them a second chance.
A chance? Running Man survival! The survivor of this game shall be freed of their sins!
So yeah, after defeating Ulcus, entering a city inhabited by Pululu citizens, and getting slapped with prison sentences by a dude who called their sin unforgivable and their conspiracy ugly, the 6 Running Men had to participate in the Running Man survival, and win the whole thing in order to set free from their confinement in Old City. Yet playing in the opening game wasn't easy at first. They had to go through a gigantic maze and find a gateway, before they were finally sent to play in the game stage and got a first taste of playing in the Running Man survival. But, a few things about that. Thing number 1, Liu had to work overcoming some Pululu players around him, who kept on bugging him, while a bulky jock obnoxiously eliminated several players in front of Liu's stupefied face. Thing number 2, Guga was absolutely annoyed by the sparkling reactions of the Pululus, who perhaps love the heritage of the Bars tribe. And thing number 3, Popo saved Lonky's butt from elimination by tagging out the player behind him. But when they realized that tagging an emblem is equivalent to a single point after the player got thrown out of the playing stage, they immediately marked the occasion by grabbing as many emblems as they could to earn more points. That said, Lonky and Popo made this game happen for better or worse. The game directors announced to the contestants that they must challenge a player who has been slapped with a prisoner level 5 penalty, to preferably make this opening game more competitive. Whoever eliminates the level 5 dude, will have the most points in the opening game. At this point, even Lonky really wanted to face the level 5 prisoner, and have the most points, but beating that level 5 guy was too hard to handle, because he was tagging out hundreds of players in a flash. So, Lonky and Popo had no choice but to run for their lives. Suddenly, a portal popped up in front of them, wherein Lonky ran straight into the portal and pulled a stiff Popo before the portal was shut. Once these two entered the portal, one of the game directors said it's time to play a mini-game, which can begin at any time during a main game whenever a player enters the portal. And would you look at the disbelief of the running men when they notice that they're up against for the mini-game. Lonky and Popo were so prepared to fight a foe, but they were not aware that they're supposed to fight each other. Giga meanwhile got to fight against Mio. And Liu was astonished when he realized that he had to challenge the stagnant Pala, who didn't care who's he up against. The only goal to win this unusual mini-game, is to just catch the many-sized Akong. Sounds easy, don't you think? Anyway, that is how the running men are playing in Old City, and how these two contenders battle head-to-head for the golden mini Akong. Liu and Pala are not strangers. They first met in the opening game of the 100th Running Man Championship, in which Pala was, kinda bugging Liu, attempting to ruin his chance of winning. In the first main game, Liu thought Pala found one of the marbles the bell hunter Kuga hid, when he shrieked, but it was actually a herb that Pala had been looking for.
That doesn't look like marbles to me.
You're right! It's a magnificent herb! It does things like build muscles, erase skin flaws, and more!
These two had a little gripe since they first met, but their relationship developed cordially sooner or later even though they never faced each other in the championship. Pala's helped the running men defeat the DV7, especially in round 3. He gave some of his herbal medicine to Liu, to help him improve his game. And I also want to point out that Pala also gave some to Lonky with a nasty puke, that wasn't quite helping. And just for good measure, Pala found a way to bother the unrelenting defense of the combined Castanets and the Ocarina squad, wherein Liu finally noticed the weakness of the opponents, but Pala was unfortunately eliminated once he dropped into the hole. And here in episode 5, both of them are facing each other for the very first time. At first, they were still figuring out how to get this game over with while they were looking at the tiny Akong. Liu wanted to walk around the field, to find any more weird stuff besides the petty Akong. But shortly thereafter, the mini Akong intentionally annoyed Pala by biting his wooden cane. Liu thankfully came to Pala to save him and quickly grabbed the mini Akong, in which he did not expect to earn his first point of the game once he grabbed it.
Liu, you scored the first point of the game! 2-0!
Pala got yet another harm from the mini Akong. But this time, he bit Pala's butt to give him more suffering. Liu helped Pala once again by pulling Akong away, which simply results to a second Liu point. But as we fast forward back to this moment, Pala scored 10 consecutive points. What changed? Well, Pala won't allow any more help from Liu to avoid another notch. So, he tried to pull the Akong out of his butt alone, while he was blubbering and roaming around the floor. But he was able to put the Akong in his hands and finally scored on the board when he drank his herbs and turned himself golden. That was a good strategy by Pala to get himself in the game. On top of that, he made this game dead even by sacrificing his whole body, to dive for the mini Akong. Pala finally returned back to his normal self, while Liu told him to take a break from using his power. But Pala did not listen to Liu, as he utilized his golden transformation once again, trying to take his first lead of the game. Right about now, Liu is upset, because he is at a point when Pala comfortably scored his third point and took his first lead of the game. And so, Liu tried to stop Pala's run and got his head in the game. While Pala yet lost his energy and got himself a nice lie on his chest, Liu chased after the mini Akong until he jumped and tried to catch the mini Akong in the air, but the much quicker Pala suddenly seized out Akong to continue his run. A 3-3 tie became a 4-2 game lead because of this remarkable grip. Now what? Liu had to figure out who he frankly was, and think of a new game-changing strategy. With that, Liu climbed to the top and examined the paths of the portals as Pala kept on racking more points for point number 5, number 6, until he leapt up for his 10th straight point of the game. Liu finally finished his portal mapping operation, but he wasn't aware of the time left in the game.
1 more minute to finish! 1 more minute to finish!
What?
I need more time!
Though it is impossible for Liu to grab 8 mini Akongs one after another in a single minute, the game director fortunately announced a special item in the final minute. Usually, multiple mini Akongs reign in those 60 seconds. Popo was so jolly that he could catch up with Lonky, who had a commanding 3-0 lead. Giga meanwhile was also cheerful once the rainstorm of multiple mini Akongs appeared, so he could also make a comeback against Miyo, who's up 6-2 on the board. So yeah, Liu could catch at least 8 mini Akongs with a minute to play. But instead of multi-mini Akongs, the special item in the Liu Pala battle is a golden mini Akong, which is a prize that's worth enough for Liu to complete a comeback and win the game. Surprisingly, Pala showed up once more with his golden self, and ran after the golden mini Akong to finish this game off. But Liu had one last strategy in his mind to prevent it from happening. As Pala was about to plunge for the golden mini Akong, Liu dodged a bullet straight onto Akong, that propelled him directly into the portal. And Liu noticed where Akong would alight, and jumped as high as he could, to catch it in desperation. But Pala would also join Liu head-to-head, to make this moment pivotal. And now, here we are. Two genuine contenders who first met in a popular competition got themselves into a little grumble, sprouted into a genial relationship shortly afterwards. With their unconvincing arrival in Tree City, that sets up for this mini-game in the first round of the Running Man survival. And with under a minute to go, it's either Liu transcending the outcome of the game, or Pala holding on to complete one of the biggest blowouts in league history. Will Liu overcome an 8-point deficit with a comeback? Or will he still get embarrassed by one of the weakest players in the league? Will Pala continue to shine with an astonishing mini-game victory? Or will he blow a big lead that wasted all of his herbs that made him become more dynamic and golden? We have reached a fork in the road. Let's see which way it leads us. Welcome to a moment in history. Sorry, turn the TV back on for just a moment, because I can't just leave you hanging in the middle of a Running Man animation episode. Liu won the whole thing, of course, with an impressive 102-10 victory. But all of a sudden, Pala got trapped in a cube that appeared in an instant because he, obviously, lost. Without a doubt, Liu saved him to become his teammate for the upcoming main game. Meanwhile, Hyuga just fell short of a comeback against Miyo, and Popo completed a come-from-behind victory to give Lonky a taste of his own medicine. The losing players were thankfully saved though, as the entire Running Man team would go on to face one of the feistiest challenges in the first main game. Okay, that's all. See ya. Thanks a lot for watching. If you want to see more Liu content, check this episode out, or check out any of our other episodes over here. And make sure to like and subscribe for more episodes.